going down today because the value of the dollar is going down. That's why we have to stop the bleeding. And the best way to do that is, of course, adjust our foreign policy. When we talk about saving money, we're talking about not tens of billions. We're talking about hundreds of billions. It costs us nearly $1 trillion to maintain what we're doing overseas. So we can literally save hundreds of billions of dollars having a strong national defense, less threat of terrorism, and restore soundness to our currency, because the evidence would be there that we're going to get our house in order. Actually, I think it would be quite clear that if we could make the announcement that we're coming home, I think that the price of oil would drop just because it would be a positive sign. Right now, there's a risk premium on oil, and when we're over there with our Navy threatening to even use a nuclear first strike against the Iranians, who have no nuclear weapons, have not threatened us, that we need to send a message out that we're willing to talk to people, be friends with people, and trade with people. This would send a very powerful message around the world, and I think conditions would change dramatically. But it is necessary because we have to cut back on the spending, but it also gives us a chance to take care of some people who have become dependent on some of the programs. I think they should all be phased out, but I don't think you can do it all overnight. But my idea of what we should do once this freedom movement gets really energized and the revolution really arrives is that we offer to the next generation at least their chance to get out of programs like Social Security. And if we quit the spending overseas, we can make sure that nobody's put out in the streets and they're taken care of. But if we continue what we're doing, there's going to be a lot of people out in the streets, and there's going to be a lot of very poor people. But in this monetary system that we have, we see the undermining of the middle class by destroying the money. But wealth doesn't dissipate quickly. Matter of fact, wealth transfers. Wealth transfers in a system that we're devising here from the middle class to the wealthy. The middle class is getting smaller, but if you look at third world nations that never had free markets or sound money, they never even had a middle class. It's we who have had the greatest middle class ever, and we're starting to lose it. But we can save it just by doing the right things. Monetary policy is so very, very important. The Constitution is very clear about the monetary policy because the founders had gone through runaway inflation with the continental dollar. So therefore they said that we cannot emit bills of credit, which is paper money, and they also said only gold and silver could be legal tender. But in order to have a healthy, thriving, sound economy and a sound currency, it also means that we would be getting rid of the Federal Reserve System. You know, in free market capitalism with sound money and freedom to keep what you earn will create a lot of wealthy people, a lot more wealthy people than maybe we even have today. But they would earn it a different way. They would earn it by providing a goods or a service for you, and you would get to vote with every nickel, every dime you spend. And if they become wealthy honestly, without benefits and special privileges from the government and contracts, and if you're not a Halliburton, they deserve to make money, but not the Halliburtons of the world. But with the monetary system we have today, there is a transfer of wealth, and it goes to Wall Street. Because those who get to use the money first, those who receive the contracts from the government, those who get through the banking system, there is a transfer of wealth. Even with the troubles on Wall Street today, guess what? At the end of last year, they passed out a few bonuses. Even to the companies that were essentially going bankrupt, there were $38 billion of bonuses handed out last year. That's not the free market capitalism I'm not talking about. That comes from an interventionist system of money and economics where special privileges are accrued to the privileged. This is what we have to turn around and make sure the average common man, the middle class American, get the benefits and not that of big government and big business. Since 9/11, instead of going in the right direction, saying there should be more emphasis on private property right, more emphasis on the Second Amendment, and more emphasis on responsibility of property owners, we went in the other direction. We turned even more responsibility over to the government. And matter of fact, I think what has happened, it's a lot less fun traveling on airplanes these days. It's a lot less fun traveling completely, because now it's going to get tougher. Because now, if we want to even just drive over to Canada, I did some of my medical training in Michigan, in Detroit, and it was easy to go to Canada and come back. It was an easy trip. But now, soon, it'll be that if you go to Canada, you won't even get back in unless you have a passport. We're supposed to control the illegals, not the American people. Of course, there now is the move on since 9/11 to have a national ID called the Real ID. The American people don't want it and don't need it, yet the pressure is becoming very great. The states that have voted not to participate now are in a predicament because, the federal government says, well, we'll keep it voluntary for a little while longer. But after May 1st, if you haven't capitulated and gone along with what we tell you, you won't be allowed to get on airplanes or enter a federal government building. So may become May 1st, when that goes into effect, our revolution will get a gigantic boost. A lot of times I'm asked about the revisions I would put into the tax code. My revision is rather simple. We would repeal the 16th Amendment, get rid of the IRS, and cut back on the spending. But since 9/11, our personal liberties have been under severe attack. Something worse than anything we have experienced before. When you think now that our government is not protecting habeas corpus, you have to realize how serious our problems are. We have these military courts now, secret rendition. We participate in torture. We have our CIA carrying people around the world. Even American citizens now have been tried without the right to have an attorney in these federal military courts. So with the Patriot Act and these other bills, we are moving in the wrong direction. And this was one of the reasons I was a strong no when it came to the Patriot Act. We have set the stage for warrantless searches. The Patriot Act permits the government to come into our homes and search. And then if you know that they have searched your home or participated in some type of an investigation like that, and you tell anybody you've committed a federal crime, if you just tell somebody. So we have some very serious problems on the attack of personal liberty. That is the ultimate test. Yes, we care about our freedoms and our prosperity, and that is a consequence of our freedom.